2 weeks ago, we covered the massive $700 billion bailout that was being talked about and has since passed the Senate and House and been signed by Presidente Bush. Our 2 cents, of course, had to do with the way illegal immigration has fed into the financial crisis we face as a nation. This week, we'd like to get down to the nitty-gritty on this moonshine that our government and predatory lenders, as well as opportunistic and irresponsible individuals, have been brewing up for the American taxpayer. Last year, the Los Angeles Times brought us the story of Soledad Aviles and his financial woes. Now, we don't know if Aviles is here illegally, but his situation perfectly illustrates many of the issues that rear their ugly heads when banks loan money to people they just plain shouldn't. Aviles, who has a 6th grade education and speaks only Spanish, worked as a glass cutter, making $9 an hour. Even taking into consideration the jobs of his wife and 3 daughters, the family made just $60,000 annually, yet WAMU loaned Aviles $615,000 to buy his dream home. It's unclear how anyone thought he could make $3,600 a month payments. When in reality they turned out to be $4,800, he rented out rooms, his garage and porch, trying to make the payments, while he and his wife slept on the couch, to no avail. The whole story is wrong at every level. Banks shouldn't be making these loans in the first place. In this case, there have been accusations that loan forms were fraudulently completed by agents. And bottom line, Aviles shouldn't be signing legal documents he can't read and fully understand. Yet once again, American taxpayers are expected to foot the bill to make these wrongs right. Taxpayers like the one who, by way of comparison, shared his story on the Technography blog in response to the Aviles article. He is a military vet. Both he and his wife have some college under their belts, have a combined income of about $80,000, and credit scores over 600. Yet with a $6,000 down payment, they were rejected by 9 Arkansas lenders for a $75,000 mortgage. While Aviles was getting $615,000 with no money down, making $9 an hour, this couple ended up with a subprime loan on a trailer and 5 acres of owner-financed land. We don't know how much more of this Americans can or will take, but we're pretty sure that it's in the not much to oh hell no range, and that's exactly where it should be. The victim, a 24-year-old woman. The accused, Jesus Pounce Reyes, a.k.a. Roberto Mendoza, 18, an illegal alien. The charge, felony gross sexual imposition. The story. The victim was attacked in a West Fargo, North Dakota motel where she was a guest. Earlier in the evening, she had been introduced to Pounce Reyes by his nickname, Chewy. Around 2 a.m., he showed up at her room with another man. They pushed her to the floor, and the second man held her down while Pounce Reyes raped her. She fought back, biting and kicking her attackers. She managed to get away and fled the motel. A friend later picked her up, and the rape was reported by motel staff the next day. When police came to investigate, Pounce Reyes was still at the motel and responded to the name Chewy. He offered Texas identification with the name Roberto Mendoza and told police the following day that he's in the country illegally. He repeatedly gave conflicting stories. First he claimed he'd never been in the woman's room, then said he'd held her down, then changed his mind. Appearing in court on September 29th, Pounce Reyes stated through an interpreter that he can't read or write and asked for a public defender. Police are still trying to identify the second suspect, who they say left upside-down, thumb-shaped bruises on the victim's shoulders and arms, where he pinned her down so Pounce Reyes could rape her. Of course, if our government had been doing its job, getting and keeping illegal aliens out of our country, this lowlife wouldn't have been here to rape a 24-year-old woman in her motel room. And that makes this crime what? 100% preventable. The victim, Jennifer Lee Hampton, 21, of Alabama. The accused, Valentino Miranda, 19, an illegal alien from Mexico. The charge, First-degree murder. The story. Hampton was staying at a Days Inn hotel in Knoxville, Tennessee, while she helped open a new Mama Blue's Southern Cafe restaurant. Reported missing on September 20th, her body was found strangled a week later in a lake 5 miles from the hotel. Miranda and another illegal alien worked at the Days Inn and were arrested on forgery charges the week following Hampton's death. The two men had provided fake Social Security cards to gain employment. Miranda, whose wife turned his bloody clothing over to police, was already in jail when notified of the first-degree murder charge in Hampton's death. Investigators report that evidence shows his employee key card was used to gain access to the victim's room. Police say further investigation is needed to determine if the second illegal alien, Rogelio Melchor, will also face charges in Jennifer's murder. Of course, if our government had been doing its job, getting and keeping illegal aliens out of our country, neither would have been here to forge those fake ID cards, which allowed them to work at the Days Inn, which gave Miranda access to murder Jennifer Lee Hampton. And that makes this crime what? 100% preventable. California was in the news this week when Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger hopped on the gravy train and requested a $7 billion federal bailout for the state. Of course, we can't help but wonder how much more money the state of California would have without the burden of a massive illegal alien population. Unfortunately, in the new and improved America, you can't simply look up these statistics because the counting is patchy at best. So like Russians reading Pravda, we have to read between the lines of the official truth. In March of this year, the Los Angeles Department of Social Services reported that illegal aliens received more than $36 million in welfare and food stamps in the month of January. So let's do the math. Incarceration plus education, add healthcare, carry the one, divide by the number of Hispanific comments by Mayor Villaraigosa. Well, let's just say it's a lot of money. And while that is a lot of money, it doesn't get us anywhere near the $7 billion. The bad news for the open borders crowd is that the Department of Social Services also totaled up the cost of illegal immigration to Los Angeles County, and the grand total came to well over $1 billion a year. Multiply by 7, and we think you see just how much money California has wasted supporting the citizens of Mexico that have broken into this country to steal the American dream. And you also see just where the money they are currently squealing for should have come from. You do the math. Thanks for clicking in to this week's episode of the Blogs for Borders video blog burst. And thanks to this week's sponsor, an Old Broad's Ramblings blog. In her own words, pro-life, pro-gun, pro-military, pro-American. What more do you need to know? Visit oldbroad.com for all your Old Broad with attitude needs. We also thank everyone who chipped in for Jake's trip to D.C. to help grow this show. You guys covered about a third of the cost before he got home, but it's not too late. Go to freedomfolks.com and click the Support Blogs for Borders button to make that donation you've been putting off and haven't quite gotten around to yet. We truly need your support to keep doing what we do, bringing you the news ignores. So until next week, be vigilant, be vocal, and be unrelenting. We've got a country to save.